Marcus arrived in the small town with hope and determination. It was a place where traditions ran deep, where the past clung tightly to the present and change was often met with suspicion. He had accepted a teaching job at the local high school, eager to share his love of mathematics with students who deserved a chance to learn and grow. This was supposed to be a fresh start, a new chapter in his life. But from the very first day Marcus realized that the path ahead would be far more difficult than he had imagined. As he stepped into the classroom on that first morning, the room fell silent. All eyes were on him. Not with curiosity or excitement, but with judgment. Some students whispered behind their hands, casting glances filled with doubt and disdain. A few laughed under their breath. Marcus could feel the weight of their skepticism pressing down on him, heavier than any textbook or lesson plan he had prepared. The principal introduced him briefly, but there was a noticeable chill in the air. Teachers avoided eye contact, and some gave him curt nods or polite but distant smiles. It didn't take long for Marcus to understand that he was not truly welcome here. Rumors spread quickly. They said a man like him did not belong in their school, in their town. His skin color became a barrier no one wanted to cross. During his first classes, Marcus noticed students challenging him openly. When he explained a complex math problem, a boy in the back row called out that he was wasting their time. Another student whispered that he should go back where he came from. Some even refused to participate, crossing their arms and staring defiantly at the board. Marcus stayed calm. He knew that losing his temper would only confirm their worst assumptions. After school, a group of teachers gathered in the faculty lounge. Marcus overheard their conversation without meaning to. One said loudly that the school had made a mistake hiring him. Another added that students would never respect a teacher who looked so different from them. It was a crushing moment. Marcus felt the sting of isolation more than physical exhaustion. Yet despite the hostility, Marcus was determined not to give up. Every morning he prepared his lessons with care, finding new ways to make math interesting and relatable. He greeted every student with kindness, even those who ignored him or mocked him in the halls. He believed that education was more than just numbers and formulas, it was about opening minds and changing hearts. One afternoon, Marcus stayed late to help a struggling student named James. James had been failing all his classes and was on the verge of dropping out. Marcus patiently worked through the problems with him, explaining each step slowly. For the first time James looked at Marcus with something like respect. It was a small victory, but it meant the world to Marcus. It was proof that beneath the barriers change was possible. Still, each day brought new challenges. At parent-teacher meetings, some parents expressed doubt about Marcus's abilities. One mother bluntly said that she didn't want her child being taught by someone who didn't share their background. Marcus listened quietly but felt a fire building inside him. He knew this was about more than just teaching math, it was about fighting prejudice and proving his worth. Walking through the hallways, Marcus sometimes caught glimpses of whispers and sideways looks. But there were moments of unexpected kindness too, a nod from the janitor, a smile from the librarian. These small gestures gave him strength. He reminded himself that every great journey began with hardship, and that patience and persistence were his greatest allies. Marcus did not yet know how long this battle would last, but he was ready to fight for every student who deserved a chance. In this town that had welcomed him with coldness, he planned to sow the seeds of hope. Every lesson, every day, was a step toward breaking down the walls built by fear and ignorance. The road ahead was uncertain, but Marcus believed in the power of education to change not just individuals but entire communities. After several months in that cold and unwelcoming school, Marcus felt the weight of the world pressing down on his shoulders. Every day seemed harder than the last. The sneers, the silent judgments, the endless resistance, it all began to wear him down. Doubts crept into his mind like shadows in the dark. Was he really making a difference here? Was his presence even wanted? Some nights he lay awake wondering if he should just walk away, leave the town behind, and forget this painful chapter of his life. One particularly difficult afternoon, after a day filled with disruptions and harsh words from students and teachers alike, Marcus sat alone in the empty classroom. His lesson plans lay scattered across the desk, but the passion that once fueled him seemed to flicker and fade. He thought about handing in his resignation the next day. Maybe it was better for everyone if he simply gave up. But then as he packed his bag, the classroom door creaked open slowly. It was Emily, a quiet girl from his math class whom few had noticed before. She stepped inside hesitantly and approached him with a shy smile. "Teacher Marcus, and just wanted to say that I believe in you," she said softly. Her voice was calm but filled with a sincerity that cut through the doubt like a ray of light. Marcus looked up, surprised by her words. No one had ever said anything like that before, especially not someone so young and so full of hope. Emily continued, "You don't have to prove anything to those people. I know you care about us, and you're trying your best." For the first time in months, Marcus felt a warmth spreading inside. Emily's simple gesture reminded him why he had come here in the first place. He was not alone in this fight. Somewhere beneath the surface of resistance, there were students who needed him, and who believed in him. From that day on, Marcus threw himself into his work with renewed energy. He started to change the way he taught. Instead of just following textbooks, he created lessons that sparked curiosity and excitement. He used real-world examples, puzzles and games to help his students understand math in ways that felt alive and relevant. More than that, he talked to them about believing in themselves, about not letting others define their worth. In one lesson he told the class, "Math is not just numbers, it's a way to solve problems in life. You all have the power to figure things out. No matter what anyone says about you." Emily became his quiet ally in the classroom. She was often the first to raise her hand, eager to answer questions and support her classmates. Slowly, other students started to follow her lead. Small victories began to accumulate, grades improved, and with them confidence grew. Marcus also reached out to some of the parents, inviting them to school events and meetings. At first many were skeptical, but seeing their children excited about learning started to change minds. He listened patiently to concerns and worked hard to build trust, yet the path was still far from smooth. There were days when Marcus faced open hostility. A group of students once tore down a poster he had made, mocking his efforts. Another time, a parent complained bitterly to the principal about his teaching style. But Marcus refused to be broken. Every challenge became fuel for his determination. One evening, after a long day, Marcus sat down with Emily and said, "Thank you for believing in me. Emily, you reminded me why this matters." She smiled and replied, "We're lucky to have you here, Teacher Marcus. You're making a difference even if you don't see it yet." In those moments, Marcus realized that change was not about winning everyone over at once. It was about touching one life at a time, planting seeds of hope that could grow into something greater. His struggle was far from over, but he had found a strength inside himself he hadn't known existed. And so, with Emily's faith as his beacon, Marcus pressed on. Every lesson, every conversation, every small success was a step forward. The battle was difficult, but he was no longer fighting alone. As the months turned into a year, small but meaningful changes began to ripple through the school. A handful of students who had once mocked Marcus now started to respect him, inspired by his passion and unwavering dedication. Among them were a few who showed remarkable improvement in math, surprising both their classmates and even some skeptical teachers. Marcus found joy in these successes, knowing that his efforts were slowly taking root despite the hostile environment. Emily remained one of his strongest supporters, often encouraging her friends to give their best in class. Marcus also noticed other students quietly watching him, their attitudes shifting from defiance to curiosity. It was a slow transformation, but it was happening. For Marcus, every small smile, every raised hand, every better test score was proof that change was possible. However, the school administration was a different story. The principal and several senior teachers remained cold and unwelcoming. They saw Marcus as a troublemaker, someone who challenged the traditional ways and upset the established order. The subtle resistance began to take more direct forms. Resources for Marcus's classes were limited, outdated textbooks, minimal supplies and sometimes even cancellations of after-school tutoring sessions he organized. At staff meetings he faced sharp criticism and veiled accusations that his teaching methods were ineffective or inappropriate for the students. One day, during a faculty meeting, the principal addressed the staff with a pointed remark, "We all want what is best for our students, but we must also respect the traditions and expectations of this school. Marcus's approach has been unconventional and not always well received." Marcus listened calmly, but felt the weight of isolation more than ever. It was clear that the system was stacked against him, that no matter how hard he worked, the barriers would only grow higher. It wasn't just about prejudice anymore. It was about the very structure of the school resisting change. Despite the growing obstacles, Marcus refused to give up on his students. He continued to innovate, finding creative ways to teach with limited resources. He organized study groups, brought in guest speakers from nearby colleges, and even started a weekend math club in the local community center. Slowly, word spread outside the school walls about his dedication and the progress some students were making. Yet the constant battles with the administration drained his energy. He knew that lasting change inside the school would be nearly impossible without support from the top. One evening, after a particularly discouraging day when his tutoring session was abruptly cancelled, Marcus sat alone in the dark classroom, reflecting on everything he had endured. He realized that if he wanted to make a real difference, he couldn't keep fighting the system from within these walls. The school was too rigid, the resistance too strong. It was time for a new plan, a fresh start. Marcus dreamed of building a place where every student would feel valued and supported, regardless of their background or the color of their skin. A school where passion and innovation would be encouraged, not stifled. He shared his thoughts with Emily during one of their after-class talks. "I've been thinking, Emily, it's clear this place isn't ready for the changes we need. I want to create something different, a school built on respect and opportunity for all." Emily's eyes lit up. "That sounds amazing, Teacher Marcus. Something like that could really change things around here." Marcus smiled, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. "It won't be easy, but I believe it's the right thing to do." With that decision made, Marcus began planning quietly. He reached out to community leaders, local businesses, and educators who shared his vision. He studied how to start a school from scratch, determined to create a safe space for learning and growth. Though the road ahead was uncertain and filled with challenges, Marcus was ready to take the leap. This was no longer just about teaching math. It was about breaking down barriers, rewriting the rules, and building a future where every student had the chance to succeed. The fight had changed shape, but Marcus's resolve was stronger than ever. With a heart full of hope and a clear vision, Marcus began the challenging journey of opening his own school. It wasn't easy. The road was filled with obstacles, financial worries, legal paperwork, and skeptics who doubted his dream could ever become a reality. But Marcus wasn't alone. Emily, now not just a student but a passionate supporter, stood by his side. Together with a small group of like-minded community members who believed in equality and education, they started raising funds. They organized bake sales, community events, and even sought donations from local businesses who admired Marcus's dedication. It took months of relentless effort, but finally the day arrived. Marcus's school, named Horizon Academy, opened its doors. From the very beginning, it was different. The walls were decorated with vibrant murals, celebrating diversity and inclusion. The classrooms buzzed with energy and respect. Here children from all backgrounds, black, white, Hispanic, immigrant families, and those from struggling households, sat side by side, learning and growing together. Marcus made sure that Horizon Academy was a place where every student felt valued and important. There were no whispered jokes about race, or whispered judgments about where someone came from. Instead, there was encouragement, support, and a shared belief in each student's potential. In one of his first school assemblies, Marcus spoke to the students. "Here at Horizon Academy we believe that every one of you has a spark inside you. A spark that can light up the world. It does not matter where you come from, or the color of your skin. What matters is your heart, your effort, and your dreams." Emily watched as the students cheered and clapped. She felt proud knowing she had played a part in this new beginning. The teachers Marcus hired were passionate and open-minded, many of them drawn by his vision and commitment to equality. But the early years were far from easy. Funding was tight, and every dollar was stretched to cover books, supplies, and staff salaries. There were long nights spent planning lessons, handling administrative tasks, and reaching out to families who might not yet trust a new school. Sometimes Marcus doubted if he could keep it all going. The pressure was immense, yet slowly, the community began to notice something different. Students who once struggled were thriving. Parents spoke about the positive changes they saw in their children, more confidence, more enthusiasm for learning, and a sense of belonging they hadn't found before. Word spread beyond the town's limits, and soon families traveled from nearby areas to enroll their children. One afternoon, a local reporter came to interview Marcus. "What inspired you to start this school?" asked the reporter. Marcus smiled. thoughtfully. I wanted to build a place where every child feels they belong. A place free from judgment and filled with opportunities. Education is a powerful tool to break cycles of hate and fear. The reporter nodded, impressed by his passion and conviction. That story was published in the regional newspaper and helped raise even more awareness and support. Emily often helped Marcus with school events and tutoring. One day she told him, "Teacher Marcus, I'm so proud of what you've built. You've changed so many lives including mine." Marcus looked at her with gratitude. "Thank you, Emily. You and the students are the reason I keep going." As the years passed, Horizon Academy grew stronger. More teachers joined, bringing new ideas and enthusiasm. Students graduated with confidence, prepared to face the world with knowledge and compassion. The school became a beacon of hope, a shining example that change was possible when people dared to believe and act. Marcus never forgot the struggles he faced when he first arrived in that old school, but those hardships only made this victory sweeter. He had turned pain into progress and prejudice into possibility. Horizon Academy was more than a school. It was a family, a movement and a promise that every child, no matter their background, deserved a chance to shine. Years passed, and what once seemed impossible began to unfold in front of everyone's eyes. Horizon Academy, the school Marcus had built from nothing, was thriving. Its students were excelling not just academically, but also growing into confident, compassionate individuals ready to make a difference in the world. The reputation of the school spread far beyond the small town, attracting attention from neighboring communities and even state educational leaders. For those who had doubted Marcus in the beginning, the transformation was impossible to ignore. The same voices that had once dismissed him now began to soften. At first it was quiet whispers among the teachers and parents, hesitant acknowledgments that maybe Marcus had been right all along. Then more openly, some of the town's most vocal critics started attending school events and community meetings, curious to see the results for themselves. One day, during the annual town gathering, the mayor surprised everyone by inviting Marcus to speak. The crowd, which once had greeted him with cold silence or ridicule, now listened respectfully as Marcus shared the journey of Horizon Academy and the dreams behind it. The mayor addressed the audience before Marcus took the stage. "Today we recognize a man whose vision and determination have not only changed education but also changed hearts in our community. Marcus has shown us the power of courage and hope." Marcus felt a deep sense of pride and humility as he accepted the applause. He knew this moment was not just about him but about every student, teacher and supporter who had made Horizon Academy what it was. Among the crowd were former students who had once doubted him. Now many returned to the school, eager to continue their education or to give back as mentors. Some spoke openly about their earlier mistakes and the lessons they had learned from Marcus's example. During a special reunion event, one young man approached Marcus. "Teacher Marcus, I never believed you when I was in your class, but now I see how wrong I was. Your school gave me a chance to dream again." Marcus smiled warmly. "That's what this is all about, giving every child the chance to believe in themselves." The town's attitude had shifted from skepticism to admiration. Local businesses began partnering with Horizon Academy to offer internships and scholarships. The school became a model for inclusion and excellence, inspiring other districts to rethink their approaches. Even the school Marcus had once worked at, the very place that had rejected him, started to change. Some of his former colleagues reached out, asking for advice on creating a more welcoming environment. Marcus responded with openness, eager to share what he had learned through his struggles. But the most rewarding part for Marcus was seeing his students succeed beyond the classroom. Graduates of Horizon Academy went on to attend prestigious universities, start their own businesses, and lead community projects. They carried with them not just knowledge but the belief that they could overcome obstacles and make a positive impact. Emily, now a young woman preparing for college, stood beside Marcus at a ceremony honoring the school's achievements. "Teacher Marcus, you showed me what it means to never give up. You changed this town and so many lives." Marcus looked at her with gratitude. "It was never just me, Emily. It was all of us working together to build something better." The journey from rejection to recognition had been long and difficult. But Marcus's story became a powerful reminder that courage, persistence, and faith in others can break down even the strongest walls. His legacy was more than a school, It was a movement toward a future where respect and opportunity were truly for everyone. And in that small town, once closed off and divided, a new chapter had begun. One written by those who dared to dream and fight for change. The day of the grand ceremony finally arrived, a moment that felt like the culmination of years of struggle, hope, and unwavering determination. The town's community center was beautifully decorated with banners celebrating diversity, unity, and education. People from all walks of life gathered: students, parents, teachers, local officials, and even those who once doubted Marcus, but had come to respect him deeply. The air buzzed with anticipation and a sense of shared pride. The mayor took the stage first, his voice steady and warm, as he addressed the crowd. Today we come together, not only to celebrate the success of Horizon Academy, but to honor a man whose vision and courage changed the very fabric of our community. Marcus Johnson is more than an educator. He is a beacon of hope and a symbol of what we can achieve when we stand together against prejudice. Applause filled the room as Marcus stepped up to the podium. Looking out at the sea of faces, he felt a powerful mix of humility and joy. This was the moment he had dreamed of during those dark days, when he first arrived, and was met with rejection. Now instead of cold shoulders, he saw smiles, nods of respect, and eyes filled with hope. Marcus began to speak with a steady and passionate voice. When I first came here, I faced more than just challenges in teaching. I faced a wall of doubt and prejudice, but I believed in something stronger: the power of education and the strength of the human spirit. He paused, letting his words sink in. Each one of us has a spark inside. That spark can light a fire of change. It does not matter where we come from, or what others say about us. What matters is that we never give up on ourselves, and on each other. The crowd listened intently as Marcus shared stories of the students who had struggled, and then thrived, of the teachers who poured their hearts into their work, and of a community that had slowly but surely learned to open its arms and minds. He continued, "This journey was never just about building a school, it was about building a family. A community where every child feels safe, valued, and empowered." Emily stood among the students, tears shining in her eyes. She remembered the moment when she first believed in Marcus, and how that belief had sparked a fire that now burned bright in so many hearts. Marcus concluded with a call to action. "We still have work to do. The fight against prejudice and injustice is far from over. But together, we can keep pushing forward. We can build more schools, open more minds, and break down more walls." The applause was thunderous and filled the hall with an overwhelming sense of unity and hope. After the ceremony, the mayor presented Marcus with a special plaque recognizing his outstanding contribution to education and community harmony. It was a symbol, not just of his success, but of a town transformed by courage and belief. That evening, as the crowd dispersed and the lights dimmed, Marcus looked around at the faces of the people who had once rejected him, but now celebrated him. He realized something profound. One person's determination, fueled by hope and kindness, could indeed change the course of an entire community. His story was a testament to the power of resilience, and the importance of fighting for what is right. It reminded everyone that no matter the obstacles, no matter the doubts or hatred, the human spirit could rise and create a better future. And so, in that small town, under a sky full of stars, a new chapter began. A chapter written by a man who refused to be broken by hate, and instead chose to build a legacy of love, education, and unity. The story of Marcus Johnson was proof that one person can truly change the world.